I am Sami-Jo, your Monday Fictionista, and this week on the Fictionistas, we're talking about our favorite protagonists and antagonists. So these are our favorite good guys and bad guys. For myself, it's actually going to be good girls, as I have two females up on deck. And the first one I'm going to be talking about is Nadia Stafford. She is from the Nadia Stafford series by Kelly Armstrong, the first being called Exit Strategy. I have the first book here, which is actually pretty cool, though this is the Canadian title there, so I'm sure that there's an American book that looks nothing like that, so you'll have to check it out. So Nadia, not only being a badass, she was a cop. I say was because she was raised as a cop's daughter. She became a cop herself, but one day that justice that she held so strongly to ended up failing her, and she left the force in a very splashy and permanent way. You'll need to read and figure out why. But she ended up becoming a contract killer. So that would sound as if she is actually the bad guy of the story, but she's not. In a way, being a contract killer for a mafia family lets her, one, make money, which by the sounds of it is quite lucrative, and she also gets to use her assets as a cop. So she totes around lots of different weapons and guns and stuff like that. So you get inside of the head of a killer while kind of being on their side. So this is no Dexter kind of vigilante thing, even though the vigilante concept does come in as questioned and stuff like that within the book. However, Nadia herself, her name is Dee as the contract persona. She is very resourceful. She is also not afraid to be strong. She's not afraid to stand up to people. She has a lot of vulnerabilities in there that go back to a childhood trauma that they also talk about, more teen trauma, but trauma in general that Kelly Armstrong goes into. And so that in itself, a lot of times pushes her to try and do things that maybe are a little bit too dangerous for her because she's very passionate about what she does. Yeah, I'll never be a contract killer. But on the heels of Nadia Stafford, another badass female protagonist is Marnie Baranek. So I might be saying that wrong, I probably am, but she is from the Marnie Baranek Files by A.J. Alto. Here is her first one, Touched. Is it like Nadia, Marnie has retreated from the justice system, in this case the FBI, and to a cabin, sort of a remote cabin, which I didn't realize actually those two were so connected in that way. She is a forensic psychic. So this is also a book that's more like a paranormal mystery. The first one is not paranormal, but this one definitely is, and it is a mystery. Marnie has her own talents, and they're not just ones for her job, which are pretty damn cool in themselves. Her talents are what is called the blue sense, and it is when she touches anything, she can get emotional imprints off of them, or some visions, that kind of thing. So she ends up walking around a lot of times with gloves on, which can be really cool ones or really silly ones and that kind of thing, but she usually has them with her, and it can be very overwhelming. She also is a smartass, and not just a smartass because she's funny as hell, but a smartass because she has a doctorate in preternational, sure, whatever, biology, and she knows a hell of a lot about all different kinds of monsters and ghouls, zombies and vamps and all that kind of stuff. Marnie herself, she has a lot of flaws. I guess I do enjoy characters that end up being pretty damn cool but show a lot of the human side to them, since we all have flaws that we can't really get away with. She's kind of clumsy. She ends up sticking her foot in her mouth because her filter isn't really that great, and she sort of says things that may seem inappropriate at the time. She also is very imaginative as far as her swear words. So all the time in this, even if she's going through something that is kind of horrendous, there's an element of humor to it that is just absolutely hilarious. You can't not laugh at it and feel bad for her at the same time. It's a weird mix, but it works extremely, extremely well. Marnie herself is a very strong character. And sometimes she feels not so strong, especially when she's around certain ex-vampire, hunter, sexy man type characters. But she is driven in a lot of different ways, and she has very admirable traits. So as far as female characters go, she's another one where you kind of want to get into the pages and be her and see what it's like to have to go through all this stuff and have the knowledge that she has. Her brain is freaking huge, and it's something to absolutely be jealous about. Now on to our antagonists, the bad guys, since I could talk about Nadia and Marnie all day long. Our first is Darken Rahl. He is from this novel series by Terry Goodkind. It's the first one called Wizard's First Rule. And Darken Rahl is a typical bad guy that you hate from beginning to end. There might be some redeemable facts about him, but to be honest, he's not one of those ones where you want to have any redeeming things about him. He is dark. He is torturous. He is evil to the core. Darkenrahl, well, as a child, he watched his father, who's a ruler of Dahara, which is a territory in the book. That's epic fantasy, so it's all completely made up, but it's a wonderful, wonderful world to get into. So Darkenrahl watched his father be killed by wizard's fire. So as he grew up and he went through torturous treatments to help dealing with his own burns, since he was there as well, he once he became in power, he outlawed fire and magic, even though he was completely magic himself. So he brainwashed his whole territory and kingdom of people into thinking he was the savior, and they have to kneel and pray a certain amount of times a day, or you'd be killed and that kind of thing. He ends up stealing children and training them as these horrible people and stuff like that as well. He ends up going after the protagonist in that one and trying to kill him, as well as just trying to basically take over this whole world that Terry Goodkind has created. And he has a lot of facets about him that are very interesting. You want to know why he does the things he does, how he can justify the type of behaviors that he has, why would he outlaw magic when he knows it all himself and is extremely skilled at it, and all kinds of magic that he uses actually to bring down a lot of people. So you want to know all of these things, and in that way, Terry Goodkind created a really great antagonist to hate and love at the same time, even though he doesn't have any redeemable facts about him. But I guess a testament to Terry Goodkind's ability to make good bad guys. The other amazing bad guy character that I actually love quite well is the Mord Sith, and so one in particular named Mistress Dina. Now, Mistress Dina was taken as a child, as all Mord Sith are, taken by Darkenrahl, and she was trained by him specifically. By trained, I mean broken. So they take the sweetest children, the kindest children, and they steal their parents as well. And they go through a certain amount of tests that make it so that they are completely broken. All they want is to serve Darkenrahl and his agenda, and they want to control others. And so, in order to control people, they use an egil, which I believe I'm saying that right, but it's a rod that causes constant pain if you touch it. So, it could be put into your ear and cause you to go deaf, your eyes, or cause you to go blind. It just causes extreme pain the entire time. So, any kind of uh, torture tactics that you can think of, she uses. She does also end up having sex with the people that she takes, and usually that's an indication that she's going to kill them. Richard, who is the protagonist in this novel series, ends up having to go through all of this with her. And of course, since he is the protagonist, he doesn't die. But she ends up being a character that you really do love because there is redeemable facts about her. So while the Mord Sith in general are horrendous, horrendous people, Dina herself has a little bit in there that's very twisted. She's a very dark person, but you end up kind of liking her because of certain things that happen with her and Richard. So I absolutely recommend getting this series and kind of falling in love with some bad guys, because just because you're a bad guy doesn't mean you can't be loved too. So that's enough for me this week. Make sure that you stay tuned with the other fictionistas to see who their favorite antagonists and protagonists are. And make sure that you're sharing and tweeting all about the fictionistas. And I will see you next week. Bye, guys.